Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
President Trump is out on the campaign trail again, this time in support of Republican candidates standing in the midterm elections this autumn. He's also ramping up his attacks on what he calls the fake, disgusting news. Last night, he seized every opportunity to attack the press during a raucous rally in a county of Pennsylvania he snatched from the Democrats in 2016. Danny Eisdale was there.
Is this the way to the Trump rally?
Ashamed of yourselves. I'm ashamed of you.
Must be. Supporters dodged the disapproval to make it to the arena.
Most of the people around here were for Trump.
What are you even talking about?
That's the way it is. They bought into the lies, and they still buy into the lies.
Lock him up! Lock him up! Lock him up!
We love Trump.
Fake news.
They do love Trump, enough to wait in the sun no matter how long the queue.
It's incredible how one man draws so many incredible people. I love it.
He represents us, and that's why he's so popular. That's why all these people are here lined up 2 hours before and even 3 hours before. Protesters are maybe 20 or 30 on the way in, and we have 10,000 people here. So who do you think is right?
Trump all the way,
Trump.
baby.
Woo!
Trump.
Go Trump!
He's the man.
The economy is #1 issue to me.
Do you think he's delivered on that?
Absolutely, 4.1% this quarter. Donald J. Trump. I don't listen to what he says as much as what he does, because what he's done has been great.
Inside, they partied like it was 2016. Back then, Luzerne County handed Trump a triumph as thousands who'd backed Obama rolled the dice on Donald. Key to winning his presidency was winning over swing states such as Pennsylvania.
Hey, but we won the state of Pennsylvania, you remember?
So why not recycle some old material to relive the energy of his campaign?
We need border security. You were betrayed by our politicians.
You know, make America great again. Make America great again. Maybe the greatest slogan ever, right?
But last night there was a new slogan. Shirts, signs and hats emblazoned with one particular letter. The mark of conspiracy theorists who follow cryptic clues drip-fed on the internet from an anonymous source they believe is a government whistleblower called Q.
He's been posting for 7 months now, and millions of people now know what the Q movement is. And it's just really the Great Awakening, you know.
The core Q conspiracy claim that the Trump administration is secretly uprooting a global sex trafficking ring. Kate wasn't willing to share her real surname.
So there is something huge going on, and when those indictments are unsealed, we're going to see potentially politicians, CEOs, people who report the news, you know, that are going to end up with charges.
What evidence is that?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, right now we're not privy to what evidence exists.
She believes Hollywood is, quote, full of pedophiles, but again cites no proof.
Theories can be dangerous unless there's evidence.
Well, there's theories about everything. There were theories that there was more than one bullet for JFK, and there was.
The president has history with conspiracies. Remember how long it took him to accept the truth that Obama was born in the US?
They wore shirts and signs emblazoned with only the letter Q. Their numbers seem to be growing, and they were spotted last night at President Trump's Florida rally. They are a new fringe conspiracy theory group called QAnon. I want to bring in CNN's Tom Foreman. Tom, who are these people and what do they believe?
Well, broadly speaking, these are people who deeply mistrust the government, the mainstream media, and who treat any facts showing Donald Trump is wrong about anything as proof of a deep plot against him.
Photos of missiles and mysterious strangers, rants about a shadow government, Freemasons, secret symbols, and predictions of a world about to change. All of this is part of the conspiracy stew cooked up by QAnon, an internet conspiracy persona, some followers of whom showed up at the president's most recent rally, and many of whom see him as a hero. Like them, ready to embrace wild theories, to claim secret plots against him, and to attack anyone who says otherwise.
Fake news, fake news. They are fake.
Internet postings associated with the movement gained traction fast among followers, like one that says the Parkland school shooting victims and witnesses were really actors. NBC News noted earlier this week a spate of YouTube videos falsely accusing top celebrities of pedophilia.
The higher you go, the more sick it gets.
At the same time, the Q is attracting interest from others, including Roseanne Barr and Kurt Schilling.
And I've been asked, do you believe the Q? Do you know who the Q is?
The Washington Post says Q is an anonymous user claiming to be a government agent with top security clearance, waging war against the so-called deep state in service to the 45th president. But back on Earth, this is known. The promotion of conspiracy theories can have real consequences.
The Hoover Dam was evacuated.
In June, police detained an armed man after he blocked Hoover Dam, demanding the release of a government report, apparently about Hillary Clinton's email, although such a report was already out. In 2016, police say a man fired a rifle in a D.C. pizza place as he claimed he was investigating a widespread conspiracy theory about human trafficking. He was convicted and is now serving 4 years.
We're not covering Pizzagate enough.
And Alex Jones, who pushed the Pizzagate conspiracy on his radio show, is now in court over another made-up tale. Families of victims in the Sandy Hook school shooting say they have been hounded mercilessly since Jones claimed their stories were all part of a hoax to push for gun control. He is countersuing them for legal defense fees.
Jones has also claimed the government was involved in the Oklahoma City bombing and the 9/11 attacks, and yet back in 2015, candidate Donald Trump told this leading promoter of conspiracy theories, "Your reputation is amazing. I will not let you down." So perhaps it's no surprise these QAnon conspiracy folks are now showing up at Trump rallies and making themselves heard.
At President Trump's rally tonight in Pennsylvania, scattered among the crowd are people who believe in some conspiracy theories that are so broad and often bizarre, it's difficult to believe, to put it mildly. It's no longer an isolated thing. Take a look. The sign with a Q on it stands for QAnon. This video is from the presidential rally in Tampa 2 nights ago. Last night on the broadcast, we focused more closely on what the group believes in and their views from the fringes of American political thought. Tonight, we wanted to give them a chance to have their say, but because so much has been written about their reluctance to talk, we weren't sure what we would get when we sent Gary Tuchman to tonight's Trump rally. Gary joins us now. So what happened?
Well, Anderson, the rally just ended a short time ago. People are now streaming out. Many of these people arriving earlier this morning, waiting in line. And like I said, we wanted to see if the people who follow this movement wanted to talk to us, and we found that they did want to talk to us, and what they told us was quite interesting.
Waiting in line in a driving rain, very motivated Trump supporters wanting to see the president in person in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
We are Q.
Some of those people wearing and holding the 17th letter of the alphabet.
Are you holding a big red, white, and blue Q? Why do you have that?
It's a movement, man. It's the shift. I can feel it coming. Some call it the Great Awakening.
You're wearing a shirt that says Q, WWG, 1WGA. What does that mean?
It means where we go one, we go all.
QAnon is the people that believe in what Trump's trying to do to change our country.
That is a generalization. More specifically, what QAnon is a fringe movement in which many baseless conspiracy theories are discussed on the internet, organized around the idea of an anonymous but well-connected person or persons nicknamed Q.
Your shirt says the storm is here, QAnon. What does that mean to you?
Well, I've been following all the posts since October 28th.
On the internet, from QAnon.
Right, started on 4chan.
The person or people who say they're Q.
Right.
What do you think Q is, by the way?
It's an entity of 10 or less people that have
involved with the government?
High clearance, security clearance.
And how do you know that?
Well, I'm just telling you, this is what it appears to be.
What it appears to be. So you don't have any proof of that. That's what you're guessing it is.
And you don't have any proof there isn't.
We've all been gathering online and talking together as Americans and uniting. And
do you think it's maybe just it makes you comfortable talking with other frustrated, sometimes angry people?
Yes.
But maybe it's not true because there's no evidence of it. It's just stuff being talked about on the internet, right?
There hasn't been any non-evidence yet.
A major mantra among QAnon followers? The press is the enemy.
You guys are.
So you don't believe in the First Amendment?
Oh, I totally believe in the First
Well, you
Amendment.
don't. You just said the press is
Well,
the
you
enemy.
guys are weaponized. You guys are totally weaponized by the CIA.
What is that?
You guys are weaponized
By the CIA.
by the CIA.
I don't know anybody in the CIA except a couple of people I've interviewed over the years.
fair. Okay.
But weaponized, what does that even mean? Like you say stuff that doesn't even mean anything.
The
Weaponized
term
by the CIA.
conspiracy theorist. The term.
Do you think I'm weaponized by the CIA?
Maybe not to your knowledge, and that's unfortunate.
You believe there is a deep state.
Yes.
And what do you think that deep state's doing? You think they're running this country?
I think they were, and they're petrified now
And do you
because
think-
they're losing their control.
But Donald Trump's the president. He's running the country, right?
Yeah, but he's having to fight against the
I mean,
deep
he
state.
said he could do it all himself. Everything would be so easy when he came into office. And you think he's fighting with the deep state a year and a half into his term?
I think he's been fighting since before he was elected.
And who is in this deep state? Who are the people in it?
Oh, I definitely believe that, like the Clintons, the Bushes, the Obamas.
So you think the Clintons, the Bushes, and the Obamas are running this country as we stand here in the rain?
No, they're trying.
The anonymous Q is a hero to many here. One man actually hoping to communicate with Q by looking straight into our camera.
Is it possible you're believing bogus information, yes or no?
Is it possible that I'm believing bogus information?
No.
I mean, let's see. Let's see, Q. Let's see.
Gary, did you get the impression that large numbers of people who were lined up for the rally support the QAnon movement? Because obviously, you know, if there are thousands of people at a rally, what sort of numbers do you see?
Yeah, I don't think it was large numbers, Anderson. A lot of people we talked to had no idea what it was. And other people just wanted to see Donald Trump, and some people just wanted to see a president of the United States with their children. So it seems like a relatively small number. What I will tell you is that it's catching on, and I would anticipate at future rallies we'll see more people holding big Qs and wearing clothes with Qs on them.
Do the people you talk to believe that President Trump supports QAnon?
Well, President Trump has never said anything about this organization. Also, if you could call it an organization, this internet fraternity. Sarah Sanders, the press secretary, was asked about it yesterday, and she did not give the indication at all that President Trump supports it, the contrary. However, each and every person I talk to who follows this does believe, fervently believes, that Donald Trump is a supporter, even though he hasn't said so.
All right, Gary, appreciate you being there. Thank you. Joining me now is Will Sommer, reporter for the Daily Beast, who's been writing about QAnon pretty much since its inception. Appreciate you being with us. Do you have any idea how many followers QAnon actually has? How many people believe in these conspiracy theories? Because I certainly don't want to paint, you know, everybody who's at this rally with such a broad brush. As Gary was saying, it seems like it's a relatively small number of people who went to this rally.
Certainly not. It is hard to tell how many people believe in it. Certainly you wouldn't want to say everyone at the rally, everyone who's a diehard Trump supporter. But at the same time, the numbers, I mean, you know, at these rallies, we're seeing maybe a couple dozen QAnon believers. That's pretty bizarre given what QAnon people believe. In April, there was a QAnon rally in D.C. I went to that. A couple hundred people showed up. They were chanting the QAnon slogans. So, you know, that was before this stuff really hit the mainstream over the summer and only in one city. So, you know, whatever it is remarkable that so many people have become convinced of this.
And from what I understand, people who believe in the QAnon thing have a different belief of what the Robert Mueller investigation actually is. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So, you know, they interpret these clues that are posted online. And so they've come to believe that Robert Mueller is actually in league with Trump and a sort of ally of his. And the idea that Mueller is investigating the Trump campaign is all sort of a ruse to cover up that Mueller is really investigating the likes of Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama.
So why would Donald Trump be attacking the Mueller investigation?
That's all part of the, you know, that's all
cover.
part of the ruse.
I see. So, I mean, I understand a rival to Q has now emerged, someone who goes by the letter, or multiple people go by the letter R. Is that right?
That's right. So Q kind of disappeared in July, and so his followers, as you can see, are very devoted, and they were left sort of bereft. And then someone named R showed up and started giving clues, and they said, oh, well, maybe, you know, this is the new guy to follow. And they posited that R was the JFK, John F. Kennedy Jr., who, of course, died nearly 2 decades ago. And then Q came back and said, don't trust that guy. You know, like with any conspiracy theory, you know, you end up with a lot of factions.
So does this have anything to do with the Pizzagate folks, that people believed, you know, there were people, Democrats or Hillary Clinton or others, running a pedophile ring in a pizza parlor basement?
Absolutely. QAnon is, in a way, sort of like a more respectable mega Pizzagate. A key part of QAnon is this idea that Trump is, he's not just fighting against the deep state to the extent of like the intelligence agencies or the Clintons. He's fighting against what they believe to be global pedophile networks amongst the elites all over the world. So they have no evidence for this. It's really crazy stuff. But they've kind of folded Pizzagate and a lot of other conspiracies into this sort of giant conspiracy theory.
And I understand that some people believe that the president has given them secret signs, like that the way he holds his hand or puts some fingers together, he's forming the letter Q during speeches. Is that right?
Yeah, so they're like obsessed with, as we saw in the video, getting some sort of validation from Trump that Q is real. And so like they'll look at videos and they'll say maybe he's moving his hand in a way that's like a Q, or if he mentions the number 17, which of course Q is the 17th letter in the alphabet, they see that as a sign. They've been asking a lot of White House reporters to ask Trump about Q. It doesn't seem like anyone has taken them up on their offers, but they seem to feel that this, if Trump was asked about it, they're convinced he would say, oh yeah, it's all real.
Does anyone seem to know who the person Q actually is, or if it is one person, or if it's groups of people?
Q's identity right now is very mysterious. Whether it's one person, a group of people, maybe a foreign operative. There's a lot of theories going around, but really nothing that I think is worth considering. I think perhaps it's maybe just a troll or a couple trolls in a basement somewhere, and this whole thing's gotten out of hand.
So the core, can you just explain again the core belief? Because the whole international pedophile ring, it linked with the deep state, and Robert Mueller's actually working with President Trump. I mean, it's all, outlandish.
Yeah, it's very confusing. I mean, sort of and it's constantly growing, like sort of with something will happen in the news and they'll claim, oh, the deep state tried to shoot down Air Force One. Sort of the gist of it is that Trump has teamed up with the military and sort of various virtuous world leaders, including Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, to take on this global cabal of Democrats and Hollywood elites and bankers and all this kind of stuff, who they claim are essentially responsible for all the evil in the world. And soon Trump will have all these people arrested.
But if the Q supporters had hoped for any acknowledgement, none came. What he did deliver was his favourite theory of all.
But they can make anything bad because they are the fake, disgusting news.
He'd riled up the crowd with a story about, of all things, respect.
I have great respect for the UK, United Kingdom. Great respect. People call it Britain, they call it Great Britain, they used to call it England, different parts.
Whatever it's called, that's where he met the Queen.
We then go up and we have tea. And I didn't know this, it was supposed to last for 15 minutes, but it lasted for like an hour because we got along. We got along.
But he said the press lied about whether he was on time and wore out his welcome.
So here was the story by the fake news. I was late and I overstayed, and honestly, folks, it was such a beautiful, beautiful visit and afternoon.
Overstaying, no problem here. He wrapped up far later than planned.
And that's no surprise. This is the president's happy place, being cheered by adoring supporters. It feels almost a world away from Washington.
And expect to see many more scenes like this one before the midterms. He's promised to campaign for Republican candidates across the country.
And Danny joins us now live from Wilkes-Barre in Pennsylvania. Danny, where does this particular attack on the free press sit on the scale of Trump attacks?
Well, Chris, it's certainly not nice when a crowd turns on you booing and hissing, particularly if the president has prompted them to do so. But it's nothing new. I mean, this happens at these rallies. It is certainly feels like it's being ramped up, though, and that's because of what the president himself is saying. He keeps repeating this rhetoric that the media is the real enemy of the people, despite the dangers. The UN weighed in today, saying that this language is increasing the risk of violence to journalists. Now, the other big concern that we touched on in the piece was this increased presence, though still small, of the QAnon movement, these people, conspiracy theorists, who are spreading these stories that are terrifying about people they perceive to be enemies of Donald Trump. So that is a real concern, because even though they say they're not about violence, when conspiracy theories are acted on in the real world, which we've seen before, it can turn really ugly. So the spread of misinformation being used as a weapon, it's unsettling to say the least when you consider the potential consequences.
Danny Isdale, thanks.
It's one of the features of this febrile summer, there we are again, that we journalists are frequently under fire. In the United States, that's been stirred up by the president himself. With his regular assaults on fake news and enemies of the people, media have become accustomed to being booed and even threatened at Trump events. Well, yesterday, the president's press secretary pointedly refused several times to renounce that description of the press, not as the fourth estate, but as the enemy of the people.
The President of the United States should not refer to us as the enemy of the people. His own daughter acknowledges that, and all I'm asking you to do, Sarah, is to acknowledge that right now and right here.
I appreciate your passion. I share it. I've addressed this question. I've addressed my personal feelings. I'm here to speak on behalf of the President. He's made his comments clear.
Well, we've got joining us down the line from the States, a colleague of Jim Acosta, the CNN correspondent who was pleading with Sarah Huckabee Sanders there in that clip. Brian Stelter, host of the CNN show Reliable Sources. Brian, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks. To what extent do you and your colleagues feel physically threatened in this environment now?
Well, I think the president has been singing the same tune about the media for 2 or 3 years, but he's doing it now in a much louder way. He's practically screaming at these rallies, and he's holding more and more of these rallies. So there is a renewed sense of concern about how his behavior, the behavior of the crowds that surround him, and his talk of enemies of the people. Obviously, all patriotic Americans know that the American press is not the enemy of the people. It's a rhetorical device the president is using, and he's ratcheting up because he wants to run against the media in the U.S. midterm elections, even though we are not on the ballot. To answer your direct question, I don't want to speak for others. I do think there is cause for concern about security that didn't exist, let's say 3 years ago when President Trump was just starting to run as a candidate. However, thankfully, we do not see the kind of violence in the U.S. that we have seen in other parts of the world where journalists are tarred as fake and targeted as in violent ways. Hopefully, we will not begin to see that kind of violence here.
Just in terms of how we got here, do you have regrets about CNN running all those Trump rallies during the campaign? It was good for ratings. It was good for business in that sense. But do you feel to some extent the network enabled the rise of Trump?
Well, I think more importantly, those rallies were newsworthy. The candidate Trump was like nothing we'd ever seen before, and people both needed and wanted to see what was going on at the rallies. I think what has changed now that he is president and he's holding rallies all the time, campaigning in the midterm elections, is that he's not saying much new anymore. Let's take last night's rally, for example. It was the same old script. Like I said, he was singing the same old tune and railing against the press at every opportunity. So we have seen CNN and MSNBC pull away from live wall-to-wall rally coverage. I think that's a good thing. That's a responsible decision. However, President Trump always has Fox News, which will air and does air every rally live, including one this time tomorrow. So there will always be an outlet for him among the pro-Trump media. And I don't think we can disconnect his rage against the media from his real problems, both at home and abroad. When Trump is railing against the media, it's because of the scandals and controversies he is facing. Robert Mueller wants to sit down for an interview. There are other issues the president faces, and so he attacks the media because it's convenient.
Brian, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Good luck with the midterms.
Thanks.